What's going on, everyone? I'm Matt Dinerman here in the Oaklawn Today studios. Another edition of Out of the Starting Gate, sponsored by Oaklawn Park. We've got a big edition of Out of the Starting Gate this week. Of course, the headliner that everybody's talking about around the racing world, right here in Hot Springs, Arkansas, this Saturday, the Oaklawn Handicap $1.25 million event featuring last year's Kentucky Derby and Travers winner Sovereignty, last year's Preakness and Haskell winner Journalism, Breeders' Cup Classic winner White Abarrio, who's banked $7.7 million. The old pro for Savvy Joseph is here for the Oaklawn Handicap. It's going to be a fantastic event, extremely highly anticipated event. And like I said, the whole racing world is going to have their eyes on this major matchup here between those three heavy hitters in the Oaklawn Handicap. That's race number 11 on a 12-race card on Saturday. But we will talk about that race at the end of this program. For now, we have other things to discuss as well. Plenty of content on this week's edition of Out of the Starting Gate. We have a bunch of races we need to go over from last week. Some really interesting big performances that we saw from last week's major top performances. And then we shift gears to this week. This week at Oaklawn, we have a lot of really good races. 3 stakes races led by that Oaklawn Handicap, a high-level allowance race on Friday that I think is really going to grab some people's attention. Some other allowances. I think all week long we have 8 allowance races. So really high-quality racing here at Oaklawn this week, and we'll get to as many of those races as we can with the time frame we've got here. So without further ado, let's get to the analysis. We're going to rewind to last week and talk about the major performances from there. We start on Thursday afternoon. Let's go to race number 2. It's a maiden special weight for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward here. And Rational Theory from the Steve Asmussen barn getting it done. Here's the replay. Had been knocking on the door for a win, and she was getting mid to high 60 buyers, but the numbers indicate, and so does the eye test, as you can see here, that she really took a step forward in this race. Got an 80 buyer for this win. Maybe the light bulbs finally turned on here. She's a daughter of Practical Joke out of an Uncle Mo mare. She's hit the board a number of times. She very much looks like a sprinter to me. One-turn filly here, but I love the way she finished and finished full of run here and galloped out nicely under Eric Asmussen, the son of Steve Asmussen, who is your winning trainer here. Rational Theory. She is one that I think we're going to want to watch out for, an up-and-comer that finally really broke through with that big win. She just was very consistent, but was not winning races. But she got it done on Thursday afternoon, and she's one you just want to keep an eye on. Then we move forward to race 7 on Thursday. This was a really good second-level allowance race, and the winner of this race, let's take a look at it. First Division. We know him. If you're an Oaklawn handicapper fan, you know this horse. He's a 3-time stakes place colt that lost by a half length in both the Coach Overnight and the General MacArthur in his last 2 races, and got a real confidence booster here. He's run 95 or 94 buyers his last 4 races. So the numbers say he's been running consistent races. He got a 95 buyer here. What I liked about this win is he always looked like he was loaded. On the far turn, turning for home, Manny Esquivel, his regular rider, had a lot of horse underneath him. And once he asked him to go, he took off nicely and easily defeated this group. The one concern with a horse like him, and we've seen it in past races, even though he has faced a little tougher, is that he looks like he looms up and is about to grab the lead. And then when there's a battle down the lane, he doesn't win it. Usually when he wins races, it's when he's clear like this at the 8th pole. We have seen him hang. We have seen him stop with other horses, looming up, looking like he was going to win for fun, and then he doesn't. But this race, at the very least, he got a confidence booster in. He's an older horse now who really has always been talented. He has the pedigree to be talented, a half-sibling to multiple stakes winners. But I like this effort. I thought it was a step in the right direction from him, and we can imagine that at some point we're going to see him in a stake later on down the road. Who knows? Maybe if Kenny McPeak wants to wheel him back quick, the Lake Ouachita is something that maybe he'll be taking a look at on closing weekend. That's First Division from race 7 on Thursday, getting that 95 buyer speed figure. One horse I want to also mention from that race, Baddest Good Boy. This horse did not get a good trip. He's always been a router. His first 2 races off a layoff for David Fox. Earlier this meet, he sat well behind in sprints, came rolling. This day, the pace was not super speedy. He sort of broke just a half step slow, and Francisco Arrieta, who was aboard, was very patient when he rode this horse, and really he just got sort of detached from the rest of the group, and it wasn't a good trip for him. It was a decent enough race because he came flying and hit the board, but I just think they were too patient with this horse just in terms of tactics in this race, and I'd like to see Baddest Good Boy a little more prominent next time around, especially if they can find this type of second-level allowance race before the end of the meet or somewhere else, maybe in Kentucky down the line. I would think Baddest Good Boy will be a major player in a race like that next time. He's one you want to watch out for. Trip play Baddest Good Boy, who hit the board first division, though, no doubt about it. He was winning this race, and I think he was probably going to win even if Baddest Good Boy had a good trip. Baddest Good Boy would have been a lot closer in race 7 this last Thursday here at Oaklawn. We go to race 1 on Friday, the opener on Friday afternoon's program. Zippy Mark for Kenny McPeak getting the job done here. Here's the replay. 86 buyer he earned for this. This was an Arkansas bred starter allowance. And why this race is important? Well, Zippy Mark could show up next as a legit player in the Arkansas Breeders' Championship Stakes, a $200,000 event on May 2nd. That's closing day at a mile and a 16th. He got the right setup in this race. He sat off a runaway leader who set a fast pace, but he always looked like the winner down the backstretch, always looked loaded, similar to First Division. What I like about this horse is he's very versatile, Zippy Mark. He can sprint, he can route, he can be close to the pace, he can come from off of it. He's a cool type of horse to have in the barn because you pretty much ask him to do anything and he'll do it. And the Kenny McPeak team have done a very, very good job with this horse of really teaching him what racing is all about and also just getting him to where he's at, developing him into a really nice Arkansas bred. Zippy Mark from race 1 on Friday. We could see him, like I said, next in that Arkansas Breeders' Championship Stakes closing weekend. We go to race 9 on Friday. Him, a horse for trainer Ron Moquette that's always been well regarded. He won on debut here last year, has always had talent. Finally got a breakthrough win at the first level allowance condition. Here's the replay. Got a 95 buyer for this. Good effort here, I thought, from the son of McKenzie. He's still green. I mean, this horse at the 8th pole in a lot of his races when he's battling for the win, and you see it here, trying to lug in a little bit. This horse has a lot of ability. He's just not 100% straight down the lane all the time, and I'm telling you, if this horse learns to not be so green, for lack of a better term, he can run faster, I think. This horse is a really nice sprinter. They've tried him routing. He's very much a one-turn horse, and I think that he can improve, but he's still got that greenness in him. And to run this fast with really just sort of being all over the place at the 8th pole, I thought that was a really good effort from him. Another thing about him is that he doesn't always put back-to-back good races together in a row. And we saw him on Friday put a second good race in a row together. His last race he didn't win, but he got a really good speed figure, over a 90. I think it was a 91 speed figure, and he hit the board and ran a really good race. Now he's putting back-to-back races together in a row. And to me, that tells me here's a horse that is starting to gradually learn things. They've got him right, the Ron Moquette barn. He's physically doing well, so I'm hoping he can build off of this. Obviously, when he runs against tougher company, maybe a second-level allowance next time out, he can't really afford to make these little errors like he did trying to lug in a little bit, but if he can run straighter, I think that he can run faster. He's a good horse with a lot of ability. That's why I picked him as a horse we want to highlight here on Out of the Starting Gate this week. We go to Saturday's race card. It was Apple Blossom Day. 2 stakes races on the docket there. The first was the Count Fleet Sprint Handicap, $500,000 grade 3 for those sprinters at 6 furlongs. Our big sprint race for older males every year, and per usual, another good running of the Count Fleet Sprint Handicap. Here's the replay. Madhouse, the winner, was the second longest shot in the race here, 9-1. Earned a career high speed figure of 102 with a game win here. This horse won the Gallant Bob on Pennsylvania Derby Day at Parks last year. He was making his second start off a layoff here, had won an allowance at Tampa before this. He's a son of Vacoma that competed in the Breeders' Cup Sprint last fall. He did not run well then, was given some time off, just a few months by trainer David Van Winkle, who we see him a lot at Canterbury Parks. Meeting David earlier this meet, he told me he's staying in Florida, and he wintered in Florida this winter, but this was a really good effort from him. He swapped to the wrong lead late down the lane, but I give that a pass. Got a good speed figure. He was hooking up with Roll On Big Joe down the lane, and Roll On Big Joe is no slouch, obviously, and we'll talk about him in a second. But Madhouse, he could have run second. He could have tired, he could have spit the bit, but he didn't. He kept trying. It was a very good win from him and a game win. Paco Lopez, I thought, did a great job riding this horse, getting him out of the gate, getting him in a forward position right away. And he actually was positively impacted when Booth, for trainer Steve Asmussen, last year's winner of the Count Fleet, I wouldn't say he broke that bad, but Madhouse broke a little bit speedier than Booth, and Eric Asmussen opted to rate Booth, which is not something we usually see from him at all. It was a surprise that this horse was third, fourth down the backstretch. We were expecting Madhouse and Booth to hook up, maybe set it up for a horse like Tejano Twist, who we'll mention here in a little bit. But Booth took back. Madhouse went in a quick pace, but he's a naturally quick horse. He was able to clear off in the lead early. Then he got a little bit of a breather down the backside. Roll On Big Joe went up to engage him, and from there, they were 1-2 the rest of the way. Madhouse, though, very good effort. It'll be interesting to see where they place this horse next. I don't think he's the best sprinter in the country. Doesn't need to be to make a lot of money and have a lot of fun if you're an owner of this horse or part of the help for trainer David Van Winkle or Mr. Van Winkle himself. You're going to have a fun year with him. The question is, where does he go? Does he go into a grade 1? Does he stay in grade 3, grade 2 waters, still running for good money? We don't know the answer to that yet, but I'm sure they'll come up with a game plan. Madhouse, a very nice winner and a game winner of the Count Fleet Sprint Handicap. Roll On Big Joe, he was the runner-up. His numbers indicate that he ran his race, was just second best. He won the Ring the Bell and King Cotton Stakes earlier this meet. He got a 100 buyer for this. That's the same figure that when he won the King Cotton. So he ran a good race. He stalked that pace setter Madhouse, engaged him turning for home, and couldn't get by him, and he was just second best. Ran a very good race, very nice horse. He's a consistent horse, always shows up, it appears. Beautiful gray horse, and I think Bob Hess Jr. has done a really good job with him. Even Bob after the race saying, we were just second best. We ran our race. We're happy with him, really happy with that effort, but kudos to the winner, and I think that's the right mindset because that was very much the case, I believe, as well. I agree with that assessment. Tejano Twist, we need to mention him. He's the one who really disappointed. He won the Whitmore Stakes last time, grade 3 event here at Oaklawn, had won a nice allowance race over Booth 2 starts ago. He's still got that 21:45 fractional times to run into. He likes a fast pace, he got it. And he just didn't really pick up his feet. I can't give him an excuse. I don't know what happened, but he did not run the same as he did in the Whitmore, in that allowance 2 starts ago. Now, given he got really good setups that day, maybe not quite as fast and contentious as those 2 races that we saw this past week in the Count Fleet, but nonetheless, I was a little bit disappointed by it. I thought he'd run better. I picked him that day, and he just never picked up his feet. He didn't show that big kick that we're used to seeing from him, so I suppose back to the drawing board for Tejano Twist, a horse that's won every single legit stake sprint here except the Count Fleet. So that's a race. Maybe next year he's a gelding. They're going to keep running him. Maybe if he's still good, they're going to try to win it again next year. But Tejano Twist, he's the one that sort of out of anybody was a little bit of a disappointment there in the Count Fleet. Let's get to race 10 on Saturday finally, folks. Claret Beret in the Apple Blossom Handicap, $1.25 million grade 1 event for trainer Safi Joseph Jr. Boy, she is getting good. Actually was here in Greg Compton's barn at Oaklawn a season or 2 ago, and Greg did a very good job with her. Safi and his team and the ownership group privately purchased this horse off of the Compton team, and she has little by little gotten better. They've tried turf, they've tried routing at one turn, they've tried, I think they ran her in a 7 furlong race at one point, but after all of this, Safi saying after this race, dirt routing 2 turns is what she wants to do, and I'm sure they're going to keep her at that after this performance. Here it is. She won the grade 3 Royal Delta at Gulfstream last time out by about quite a few lengths, and she won by 4.5 in a dominant win in the Apple Blossom here. Micah Husbands aboard for Safi Joseph, picking up his first grade 1 here. This was basically a carbon copy race and trip of the Royal Delta at Gulfstream. Stocked the pace, stayed wide on the far turn out of harm's way, was pretty wide off the turn both races, off that final turn into the stretch, and just kept on chugging along, got a 105 for this. Congratulations to Micah Husbands, the nephew of a top rider in Canada, Patrick Husbands. Safi Joseph has been using Micah the last couple of years on many horses, and he has produced, and he also was here when Skippy Longstocking won the Essex. So Really good to see Saffie Joseph Jr. giving Micah Husbands a chance on some of these really nice horses here. Claret Beret, I feel, is going in the right direction. She wants to go 2 turns on the dirt, and Saffie's got her going really good. Sometimes horses, they take a while to really figure things out. Now, obviously, a lot of horses are never going to be able to run these types of races this fast and these caliber races that Claret Beret is, but I don't think these are fluke races. I think she's going in the right direction. I think she's getting good. And the reason I think she's getting good as well is also because Nitrogen, who ran second in this race, I thought she got overbet in the race once again, just like we saw 2 starts ago. Although that day you could make an argument that she was facing easier. She was making her second start off a layoff. Maybe she should have been bet hard last time when she ran third in the Azeri. But I think that Nitrogen got overbet after a subpar effort in the Azeri. She got overbet this time around when really her last race wasn't that inspiring, and she ran better this race. She got a 97 buyer as the runner-up. Looked like she had a lot of horse under Jose Ortiz, who was aboard her regular rider, and she was just second best. And the fact she got a 97 buyer is significant because her best speed figure ever was 3 starts ago in the Bayacoa, and she ran her fastest figure, and she ran her fastest figure again. Her fastest figure has been a 97 buyer. If you're just going off of numbers alone, you will say, and this indicates she ran her race, and she was just second best. And Nitrogen, although I've always had the hot take, she has a little more of a kick on the turf. I think she might be a little bit better on the grass. She's just very, very good enough to be good on dirt anyway. I still think that at this point, I think she's beatable because if you're a filly or a mare that can run over a triple-digit number, for example, you can beat Nitrogen. And as quality-filled as she is, she ran her race. She was second best. Claret Beret just was faster. And if Nitrogen comes up with another similar effort, if they hook up again and Claret Beret comes with a triple-digit buyer, then she probably wins again. So I think Nitrogen ran well. There was nothing wrong with the performance, but she was second best here. And finally, Majestic Hoop, she ran decent enough, just third best. Of course, she won the Azeri last time out over the wet going. I thought she ran well. I mean, she stalked the pace. She didn't have quite the same kick that we saw in the wet going in the Azeri that she ran when she beat Nitrogen, but nonetheless, I thought it was decent enough. Gets another grade 1 placing for Dan Ward, and I'm sure the connections are happy with her. Just wasn't quite good enough to win this affair, the Apple Blossom, which is not an easy race to win. We're going to take a quick break, folks, and then we're going to come back and talk about a number of races this week. It's going to be a really good racing week and a lot of good content and good quality races to go over. We'll be right back. All right, folks, we're back at it here. Let's get down to business. This week, we've got really good racing all throughout the week. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday racing. Thursday, first post 12:45, along with each and every other day. 8 races on Thursday's card, 10 on Friday, 12 on Saturday, and then another 9 coming back to end our week on Sunday. Let's get to Thursday's card first. We go to race number 6 on the program, our feature. It's an Arkansas bred allowance race. Here's the field here. This race has implications for the closing day Arkansas Breeders' Championship Stakes. We talked about Zippy Mark earlier in the card, or on the show, I should say, and this is the same situation here. This race has horses that could potentially show up next in that stake. Let's take a look at Rock Solo, number 5's last replay. He is 9-5 on the morning line here for trainer Ron Moquette. He beat an open company group of starter allowance horses here, and I did not think this was a fluke. I mean, this horse was a price this day, but he's always been a router. He never looked like a loser in this race. I mean, from the get-go, he was in the bridle, his ears were pricked up, he looked really happy out there stalking the pace and was just waiting to get the cue to go. And once Rafael Bejarano aboard said go, he did the rest. This horse won going the flat mile with that short stretch to the first finish line. Again, I did not think that was a fluke. This horse, they've sprinted him a number of times because they either couldn't get a route race to go and they were looking to run him in a race, so they had to sprint him. There have been times where maybe they were setting him up for route races by sprinting this horse. So his form maybe on page looks a little bit inconsistent. His best races by far are routing. He is a 2-turn horse. This is a two-turn race. I think he's really well spotted to win again. Now, I think the only horse that really could beat him if they both come with their races is Cybertown, number 7 for Shea Stewart. This horse ran second to Willow Creek Road, who got a clear lead, easy lead, and took him the distance over Cybertown in an allowance race. Willow Creek Road expected to run in the Arkansas Breeders' Championship Stakes at the end of the beat. And this horse here, Cybertown, was also second to Touchdown Arkansas in the No Double Breeders' Stakes sprinting 2 starts ago. He's a very versatile horse. He can sprint, he can route. Shea Stewart's done a good job with him. I do think Rock Solo has a little bit of an edge. I agree with the morning line. He'll probably be favored over Cybertown, but both horses, nice horses here, and they are both looking to run well so they can move on into that Arkansas Breeders' Championship Stakes. That's race number 6 on Thursday. Good allowance race for Archie Breds, our feature race. We go to race number 8 on Friday. Friday is a very good card, Oaklawn Handicap Eve. I think there's 5 allowance races on the 10-race card. A lot of good quality there, and this race I'm really excited about, race number 8, a first-level allowance for 3-year-olds at 6 furlongs here. The optional tag, $125,000. Anybody that's in for that tag, an owner, trainer, they can purchase a horse for the not cheap amount of $125,000, at least for me. It wouldn't be cheap for me. Let's look at this field. Spun DMC, he is the 5-2 morning line favorite. We haven't seen him since a 3rd place finish in the Advent Stakes on December 12th. That was opening day when he was a 2-year-old. He's freshened up, has taken some time. He's come back with some quick works for trainer Randy Morris. And let's take a look at his last workout. He's inside of a workmate here, and I really like the way this horse was moving. He's grown a little bit since we last saw him as a 2-year-old, which is a positive thing to see going on to 3. It's pretty big time in development physically for horses going from 2 to 3 years old. And he looks good. He looks like he's filled out a little bit. I thought he did this very nicely and very much in hand, like he had more in the tank here. It looks fit and ready to go for Team Randy Morris. Randy, a really, really good trainer. I think he does a really good job. So that's a workout from Spun DMC. He is stakes placed, multiple stakes placed, and very much a one-turn horse. He's very speedy and sprinty in that regard, so not a surprise that he looked good working. Sometimes these sprinter types, they're just naturally quick and going a half mile like this guy did, for example. They just naturally do it easy. But he is not a lock by any means. This is a really good race. Another horse in this race is Hammond for Saffie Joseph Jr. He's arguably the class of the race. He exits the Grade 3 Gotham, was going a one-turn mile, back to this sprint distance. And this horse actually ran 3rd in a really strong race, the Swale. Class president who won 2nd, he obviously came here to Oaklawn in his next start to win the Rebel. Solitude Dude ran 3rd in the Fountain of Youth. He won the Swale. He is a really good sprinter. So this horse is facing a lot easier than his last couple of races. I would make a strong argument this horse on class is the one to beat for the Saffie Joseph Jr. barn. Francisco Arrieta has the call. Number of other good horses in this race. Top level. Let's take a look at his last maiden win. The last time we saw him sprinting, this was 3 starts ago. Exits the Hot Springs Stakes, gets back to a distance I thought he ran tremendous at, 6 furlongs here for Mark Casse. He cut back from a route to a sprint. He's going to be really fit here. That's top level. Christian Torres has the ride for Team Casse, 3-1, drawn outside in post position number 9. And finally, we'll take a look at American Man for trainer Dallas Stewart. A $400,000 sale purchase by McLean's Music was one of our clocker picks this meet that won for us. Got it done with an 80 buyer for this gate to wire winner here. I like the fact that Vintage Cowboy, who ran 3rd, came back in a route race last week and defeated low odds favorite Silver Syndicate in a maiden special weight. Vintage Cowboy has good pedigree. So American Man beat a good horse there. He is a solid sprinter, I think, for Team Stewart. Has always shown some ability. First start against winners. It's a tough group. This is almost looking like a mini stake here based on who's in it, but it is a first-level allowance. So a good field of 3-year-old sprinters in race number 8 on Friday, and then we go to the 9th race on Friday afternoon. This is a dated allowance for routers at 1 1/16. Here's the field. This is for older horses with the optional claiming tag, just like in race 8, $125,000. This is like a little mini stake race here, and this race features the return of Stronghold, number 7. He's a Grade 1 winner. He won the Santa Anita Derby in 2024, ran 2nd in the Malibu sprinting. Also the Pennsylvania Derby going a route of ground. This horse has been working regularly for trainer Phil Diamano and his Southern California string. Ships here to Oaklawn for his first start of 2026. He's a good horse. He's lightly raced. They've had some physical things that they've had to start and stop with on him, but they've done a really good job keeping him going well for a good amount of time. And he's a horse that has a lot of class. Obviously, he's 7-2 on the morning line. The morning line favorite is Ben Duke for trainer Bill Mott. Junior Alvarado, the regular rider of Sovereignty, has the call here. He's going to come in a day early to ride Ben Duke in this race. Let's take a look at his last race in a ratings handicap behind Saudi Crown, who came back to win the Grade 3 Commonwealth at Keeneland. This horse ran well, just second best to a really nice horse. And Ben Duke, he slipped through down on the inside, tried to make a move on Saudi Crown, just wasn't fast enough to catch that graded stakes winner in Saudi Crown. But a good effort, and he, I would agree, is probably rightfully the morning line favorite here. He's got the recency over Stronghold, and he's a classy horse himself. So I think Ben Duke as the morning line favorite, that makes sense to me. Just another horse in here that's interesting, Gould's Gold for Kenny McPeak. He ran fourth behind Skippy Longstocking in the Essex Handicap. Of course, Skippy Longstocking, an Oaklawn Handicap winner. He won the Pegasus earlier in the year. Gould's Gold facing a little bit easier company. Yeah, that's true, but this is also a really good race. But Gould's Gold, I think, spotted in a good spot here for Kenny McPeak to be competitive. He's a stakes winner, as I mentioned, placed in Grade 3s, placed in Grade 2s. Nice horse, really good quality race, race number 9. Even though there's 5 allowance races on the Friday program, I would say this one is probably the feature given who the entrants are. A field of 7. That'll be the 9th race again on Friday afternoon. Let's go to Saturday. We've actually got 4 races to talk about. 3 of them are stakes. Race number 4 on Saturday. Here's the field for that. It's an allowance for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward here. The reason I wanted to talk about this race is Beauty Reigns, who's the morning line favorite for Bill Mott and Junior Alvarado on this Saturday. This filly ran at this level last time out. This is an allowance race for non-3 life, which means all of these runners, unless they're running out of their conditions, they have won twice. They have yet to win 3 times. And she was a low odds favorite to win at this level off a layoff for Bill Mott last month. And she did not get a good trip. Here's the replay. She got caught behind horses. I thought they were a little bit passive in terms of tactics. She could have shown more speed, found herself between horses, sort of had to wait behind a clumped up group. And it took her a little while to get going down the lane. And she lost by about 1/4 of a length, maybe even less than that. And I thought she was the best filly. I think if they rode her a little bit more aggressively here, if the tactics were, hey, we're going to get her out there and get her into a good position early, close to the pace so where she's not given too much to do, we can outkick this field. She was best that day. She is, I think, facing a little bit of a tougher group here at this same level versus last month's heat. I thought that was a little bit of a lighter group. One of the runners in here that I think could really have a say in the outcome is Untamed Moment, who broke her maiden sprinting, cuts back from a route to a sprint after a 2-length win routing. And you know, if you watch the show regularly, I love horses going from routes to sprints. I think they're really fit when they do it. So Untamed Moment is one drawn outside, should get a good trip there and will be fit. But Beauty Reigns, she's the one to beat. She's Grade 1 placed, ran 3rd in the test at Saratoga going 7 furlongs in the summertime last year for Bill Mott. So that's a fun race. The first really good race in terms of quality that we have on this Oaklawn Handicap card on Saturday. But we go to race number 6, a couple races later, about an hour later, we'll see our first stake of the day, the Bathhouse Row, a $200,000 event. Here's the field for 3-year-olds at 9 furlongs. That's 1 1/8 miles. Western Warrior, he is the favorite for Mark Casse, who's, of course, had a fantastic meeting, and so is this horse. He's won 3 in a row, and a couple of those races were against Starter Allowance Company. Now he's facing Stakes Company here. He's been winning these starter allowances by open lengths for fun, so that tells me that this horse is ready to take a bump up here. And I've seen stronger editions of the Bathhouse Row, in all honesty. So this horse, based on his recency, he's 100% the horse to beat. Even though on class, he may not look as classy as some of the others, he's winning like a horse that's ready to take up that bump up in class, absolutely. Chad Allen, he's a horse that's interesting to me, number 3. He suffered a tough loss in a good allowance race against older horses going 2 turns and really improved getting to the route. Son of Union Rag, so that's not a big surprise. Maybe this horse going in the right direction for the young stable. And Con, a shipper from Florida, coming here for Bernardo Lopez, the trainer, who has a very small string. But this horse, last time out, he won at 10-1 in an allowance race at Tampa, and now moves here to Hot Springs for this race, the Bathhouse Row. That's race number 6 on Saturday afternoon. We go to race number 9 on Saturday. This is the $200,000 Valley of the Vapors Stakes. So the boys get their shot and a stake in the bathhouse row. Now the girls get their turn. Here's the field for that. 1 mile, so they're not going a mile and an eighth like the boys here. This is a good race. I think this is a stronger field maybe in terms of class and talent than the bathhouse row. I also think it's a little bit more competitive. And we're going to start talking about Nickel and Dime, who is drawn outside here for trainer Randy Morse. If she runs like she did here, here's the replay of her last race, she's going to be really tough in here. Now, she got a clear lead. She got things her own way, but she powered home nicely, winning this allowance by open lengths. And it's worth noting that one of 3 runners for Kenny McPeak, Spitfire, who's in this race, ran second behind Nickel and Dime here. This was a good effort. She was on Lasix here, but she's run well without Lasix. We saw her lose by about a neck in the Martha Washington Stakes to none other than Search Party, runner-up in the Fantasy. She is going to go to the Kentucky Oaks next. So Nickel and Dime can run a good race without those Lasix, and she had the Lasix last time. Nice filly. Randy Morse claimed her at Churchill Downs when she was a 2-year-old, and she is worth some money now, being stakes placed with that allowance win. Nice filly there. She's going to say, come and catch me if you can. She's going to be close to the pace, but she's drawn outside with Rafael Bejarano, her regular rider. Sticker Shock and Scott's Law. These two exit an allowance race on February 26th. Let's take a look at it. Sticker Shock inside, Scott's Law outside. And you see the size difference between these two fillies. I mean, Scott's Law is an itty tiny little filly, an itty-bitty thing here, and Sticker Shock is a big gal, and Sticker Shock outfinished Scott's Law here, and they meet up again. Now, Sticker Shock has run since then. She ran in the Fantasy, got bet, and did not run well at all. Obviously, there wasn't any real excuse because trainer Brad Cox is putting her back in 3 weeks later, so he's not necessarily a trainer that likes to wheel horses back that quickly. So to me, that tells me they must have not found an excuse for why Sticker Shock did not run well, although you can make an argument that she was not running on Lasix then. She's running without Lasix this time around. It must not be a Lasix problem. In fact, she didn't run on Lasix when she broke her maiden at Churchill Downs as a 2-year-old in the fall. So it was a head scratcher. I don't know why Sticker Shock didn't run well in the Fantasy. Scott's Law has not run since this allowance race, and she freshens up for this. I thought it was a really game try from her, and especially if Sticker Shock, maybe she ran her best race first off the layoff. If she comes back with another clunker, then Scott's Law is very, very eligible to run big here. And even if Scott's Law takes a little step forward and Sticker Shock does not, then Scott's Law is an interesting item for the Johnny Ortiz barn. Sticker Shock, I could see her winning. I could see her running subpar again. Either way could happen for Team Brad Cox, but she is a nice filly with some talent. Just with that inconsistency, you wonder, can you trust her? I don't know. But Scott's Law is one that has continuously progressed. She's stakes placed already. She ran third in the year's end stakes as a 2-year-old. And finally, Kenny McPeak, we mentioned, he's got 3 in here. Spitfire, one of them. She's stakes placed. A recent maiden winner named Holly's Holiday, who's a price on the morning line. I think she's a little bit intriguing in here. And a recent starter allowance winner at Keeneland, Miss Call, would be willing back very quickly if she were to run, indeed, on Saturday here in the Valley of the Vapors Stakes. Kenny McPeak with a trio looking to get a stakes win for any of them and stakes placing as well. Maybe a trifecta here for Team McPeak. We go to the feature race on the program. Here it is on Saturday. It is as highly anticipated of a race as you can find in North American horse racing, and it's happening right here in Hot Springs, Arkansas. The Oaklawn Handicap, $1.25 million, this Grade 2 event here. It's insane that this is a Grade 2 event. I think next year the Graded Stakes Committee should make it a Grade 1. We have seen really good horses win this race. They don't have a system in North American racing where you look at the field and then after the race make it a Grade 1, make it a Grade 2. So amazingly, this is not a Grade 1 race, at least officially, but it's a Grade 1 race in terms of who's in here. So we're going to call it a Grade 1 caliber race. It 100% is. We're going to go through the whole field here. We're going to start with White Abarrio. He was second in the Pegasus World Cup most recently to stablemate Skippy Longstocking, who returned to win the Essex Handicap here at Oaklawn. He's a Breeders' Cup Classic winner. I'm looking on his PPs right now. I mean, this horse is just a warrior. He's a Whitney winner at Saratoga in 2023, won the Breeders' Cup Classic in 2023. 10 wins from 25 lifetime starts. Look at the earnings of this horse, $7.7 million. And let's take a look at his last workout here. We've got the big three horses we'll talk about, all workouts we're going to show, courtesy of XBTV. Thank you very much to our friends there. And White Abarrio here on the outside, basically he's a gray roan, but he looks white. This horse, boy, he looks really good in this workout. Really, really good. He looks fit. He's in the hands here, going nice and easy. I thought he looked tremendous in this workout here. Really touting himself if he can run to this work is one that's going to run well here in the Oaklawn Handicap. There's not an abundance of pace in this race on paper. It'll be interesting drawing the rail for Saffie Joseph, Irad Ortiz, if maybe they try to steal this thing on the lead. White Abarrio. With that workout in mind, he's one I'm going to be keeping an eye on, especially because the other two big names, Sovereignty and Journalism, who we'll talk about in a second, they're coming off of layoffs here. I think if you try to beat a horse like Sovereignty, it is in this race. Now, we're going to get to number 2, Liberal Arts, before we talk about Sovereignty. This horse won the Knicks Go Overnight over a sloppy surface at Churchill Downs. That was in May of 2025, his last race. This is a tough spot. I mean, he would have a tough time being around at the wire against these horses if he was fit. Never mind if he's coming off a year layoff. So he's in tough waters here. He's gonna be in for a tall order here. Sovereignty, we go to him, number 3, 4-5 on the morning line here, and just this horse's aura, just his brand, the fact he's just so darn talented, and he's really just an amazing specimen. I would imagine that the horse players will bet him very hard here. But like I said, I think that if you try to beat him in terms of a bet, in terms of a wager, if you try to wager against him, I think off this layoff is now the time to do it. This horse won the Travers in August. We haven't seen him since then. He won by 10 that day in a small field and defeated an X-Stout Stakes winner and Bracket Buster. This horse won the Jim Dandy, the Belmont, the Kentucky Derby. A really, really good horse. And Bill Mott has gotten this horse to just go like this. He started out looking okay in his first couple of races, and he just improved. And he is just an absolute terror. Now again, we haven't seen him since August. Let's take a look at his last workout here. He's inside of a workmate here, and he is ahead. Now, I don't expect this horse to be on the lead, but I will say this about Sovereignty. The reason I think they're working him like this, and the workmate's doing it pretty easily, I think the reason they're doing that is because they want a real good stiff stern work into this horse. They want him to work at it. They want him to deal with pressure on the outside with a stablemate. So I like this. I think this is a work that Bill Mott's really trying to tighten the screws with this horse, so to speak. And look, it's not easy to go off a mile and a layoff off a layoff like a mile and an eighth off a layoff like this. Not easy to do that, to train him into a race like this, against top-class company, by the way. But if anybody can do it, A, it's Bill Mott, and B, with a horse like him, who's very talented, you can train a horse like this hard, aggressively, to get him fit. You can gallop him aggressively. So I think they're going to try to get this horse as fit as possible. Obviously, if he doesn't win this race, they're going to be looking for Breeders' Cup Classic, maybe a race like the Whitney at Saratoga in the summertime. There are other targets to shoot for that they're going to want to win, but he's not going to run 10 times this year. I'm sure they want to win every race he's in. So Bill Mott's going to get him as fit as possible, cranked up. This is not necessarily a prep for his second start off a layoff. I think this is just the start of, hopefully, they're hoping, an undefeated season for him. So I think they're going to try to get this horse as cranked as possible. Nonetheless, I still think that you try to beat him with a wager. Number 4, Duke of Duval. This horse will be a big surprise if he wins. One of 2 runners for Steve Asmussen. Ran 5th to Skippy Longstocking in the Essex Handicap. Won a second-level allowance here, but he's going up against the deepest waters you can find here. I mean, you're going from basically swimming in the lake to going into the deep end of the ocean here with these good horses. So Duke of Duval, he's a long shot in here for Steve Asmussen. Maybe he's a horse that presses the pace or tries to go to the lead with White Abarrio potentially. He's been close to the pace in races before, so maybe he tries to set up a decent pace for stablemate Publisher. But Duke of Duval, he is entered, and Steve, when he enters, he runs if they're all physically fit and healthy. So I'm imagining he's going to stay in even as a long shot. Journalism, 5-2 on the morning line. I called him winning the Grade 1 Naira Bets Haskell. He won the Preakness Stakes last year. 0-2 against Sovereignty. Journalism running second in the Kentucky Derby to him, second in the Belmont to Sovereignty, so he's looking to turn the tables. Let's take a look at his last workout here at Santa Anita for trainer Michael McCarthy. All three big names are here, stabled at Oaklawn. They have shipped from their respective strings, and they are here. Journalism, I think, looks good here. It's a workman-like drill. Michael McCarthy, he's one that has worked this horse 5 furlongs 6 times in a row. He's getting him as fit as he can here for his connections. And the one thing I like about this horse is he's going 1 1/8 here. There are a lot of people that say maybe this horse is best at 9 furlongs. I feel like I'm in the minority when I say I don't think he's necessarily any better or worse at 1 1/4 than he is at 1 1/8. I haven't seen that. Some people think that maybe this horse, he maybe gets a little bit tired late going 1 1/4. Maybe he doesn't have the kick he does at 1 1/8. Maybe. His numbers indicate that he's as fast going 1 1/4. We saw that in the Breeders' Cup where he got a career high speed figure as he is at 1 1/8. But I do think 1 1/8 he's very, very good at. Of course, he won the Naira Best Haskell at this 1 1/8 distance. Same thing with Sovereignty. This is not the type of race you want to put him in, a horse like Journalism with this much class, and say this is a prep for something. He's a horse that, obviously, he's a multiple grade 1 winner. They're running him at 4, which is a great thing to see. If you take a look at him, he is a magnificent specimen, just physically. He's a beautiful horse. And it'll be interesting to see, has he gotten bigger, has he filled out? Because as a 3-year-old, beautiful horse, I wonder if he's gotten bigger since then. I haven't seen him physically in the flesh yet. I'd like to in the next day or two here before the race, but he's not a horse that when you run against Sovereignty, White Abarrio, they're not going to put him in this race as a prep because they had other options. They could have run him in the Ali Sheba in a couple weeks on Kentucky Derby Day, could have run him in the Ben Ali this weekend at Keeneland. That was a race that they were potentially tossing up in the air as a race that maybe this horse would come back in, but they're running him in the Oaklawn Handicap for $1.25 million. They're running him in a race against some of the best dirt routers in the world. So with that, you don't want this horse running 3rd or 4th, tired, well beaten by the top 2. You don't want to run him 80% in a race like this. He is a horse that will be as 100% cranked as possible off this layoff for Michael McCarthy here. Jose Ortiz, he rode him in the Breeders' Cup Classic. He's got the ride. And finally, Publisher. He's won 3 in a row. This horse ran 2nd in the Arkansas Derby as a maiden, but the light bulbs turned on for him. He broke his maiden in a maiden special weight race, won a first-level allowance, and then most recently won the American Pharoah Overnight Stakes on Arkansas Derby Day. Here's the replay on that. Very workmanlike effort from him on this day. This is a much tougher task than what he's seen last time out in that stakes race. This is a different level. But if Duke of Duval and White Abarrio speed things up on the lead here, maybe Sovereignty and Journalism, maybe their connections have tried to get them really ready for this race. Maybe they don't quite run their best off the layoff. Maybe Publisher steps up again. Who knows? Maybe this horse can outrun his odds. Maybe he can surprise some people. I know he's a wise guy horse in this race. Some people on social media have also talked about maybe trying to beat these big 3 names, Abarrio, Journalism, and Sovereignty with this horse. I think it's a little bit of a stretch. That would be a surprise to me. Like I said, this is just a different level of competition, but we have also seen crazier things. We've seen horses win over 99-1 in a Breeders' Cup Classic. Archon, remember him. If that can happen, then Publisher can certainly win a race like this, but he would need to A, improve, B, maybe a couple others would have to regress or not run their best, and C, he would have to get the right setup, in my opinion. But Publisher, I like that they're taking a shot with him in this race. It's a lot of money. Even if he runs 3rd or 4th, it's a good paycheck. And that's the field for the Oaklawn Handicap, field of 6. That's race number 11 on the 12-race card. Looking at the post time here, 6:20 p.m. That is Central Time, so 7:20 p.m. On the East Coast. And let's see, that'd be 4:20 on the West Coast. That does it for another edition of Out of the Starting Gate. I'm Matt Dinerman. Hope you had fun tuning in, and it's going to be a really great racing week this week. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday racing, and Saturday, of course, Oaklawn Handicap Day. Should be a lot of fun. I'm Matt Dinerman, your track announcer here at Oaklawn. Have a great week. Enjoy the racing week, and we'll see you next week for another edition of Out of the Starting Gate.